Imagine standing beside a campfire nearly 100,000 years ago. The sun has disappeared behind the horizon. The night is silent except for the crackling flames. There are no cities, no electricity, no books, and no technology. Only darkness, fire, and the people gathered around it. As the flames consume branches and leaves, thick smoke rises into the cold night air. Everyone breathes it without thinking, but among those burning plants, one releases an unusual scent. Minutes later, someone feels strangely calm, more relaxed, perhaps even inspired. No one realizes it at the time, but this simple moment may have started one of the oldest human traditions in history. Today, smoking is often associated with cigarettes, cigars, or vaping, but the story of inhaling smoke began thousands of years before any of those existed. It reaches back to a time before agriculture, before written language, and possibly even before modern civilization itself. The discovery of fire changed everything. Scientists believe early humans learned to control fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. Fire provided warmth during freezing nights, protected people from dangerous predators, and transformed raw food into meals that were easier to digest. Every evening, families gathered around the flames, making the campfire the center of daily life. But fire offered something else that no one expected. Whenever different plants burned, they released unique chemicals into the air. Some created pleasant aromas, others produced strong medicinal vapors. A few contained natural compounds that could affect the human brain. Early humans probably had no scientific explanation for this. They simply noticed that certain plants made them feel different. Some smoke seemed relaxing, some sharpened attention, others created unusual dreams or spiritual experiences. Over many generations, these observations became knowledge. Instead of avoiding certain plants, people may have started placing them into the fire on purpose. Not because they understood chemistry, but because they remembered the results. This is how many historians believe intentional smoking may have begun. Not with tobacco, but with curiosity. Long before people built cities or kingdoms, they were already experimenting with nature. Every new plant was a mystery. Some were poisonous, some became food, others became medicine, and a small number changed the way the mind experienced the world. As human societies grew, these discoveries became traditions. Across different continents, ancient communities began using smoke during ceremonies, healing practices, and important gatherings. Smoke was no longer just something produced by fire. It became a symbol. Many believed it carried prayers to the sky, purified sacred places, or connected people with the spiritual world. Although these cultures were separated by thousands of kilometers, many developed remarkably similar beliefs. Smoke represented transformation. It turned solid plants into something invisible, something that seemed to rise beyond the reach of ordinary life. Perhaps this is why smoke became one of humanity's oldest spiritual tools.
As civilizations emerged, the role of smoke became even more meaningful. In ancient Egypt, priests burned fragrant herbs inside temples during religious ceremonies. The rising smoke was believed to purify sacred spaces and carry prayers toward the heavens. Similar practices appeared across Mesopotamia, India, China, and Greece, even though these cultures developed independently. Smoke had become more than a byproduct of fire. It had become a bridge between the physical world and the unseen. Many ancient healers also believed that inhaling the vapors of certain plants could relieve pain, clear blocked airways, or calm the mind. While modern medicine has shown that many ancient treatments were ineffective or even harmful, some plants did contain natural compounds that genuinely affected the human body. Thousands of years before inhalers or modern pharmaceuticals existed, people were already experimenting with the lungs as a way of delivering medicine. But when most people think about smoking today, one plant comes to mind above all others: tobacco. Unlike many medicinal herbs, tobacco did not originate in Europe, Africa, or Asia. It was native to the Americas, where indigenous communities had been using it for centuries before Europeans ever crossed the Atlantic. For many Native American cultures, tobacco was never an everyday habit. It was sacred. It was offered during ceremonies, used to seal important agreements, and believed to carry prayers to the spiritual world. Smoking was often guided by tradition, respect, and ritual, rather than casual enjoyment. Everything changed in the late 15th century. When European explorers arrived in the Americas, they witnessed indigenous people inhaling smoke from rolled tobacco leaves and carved pipes. To many of the newcomers, the practice seemed strange and fascinating. Before long, curiosity turned into adoption. Sailors carried tobacco back across the Atlantic. Merchants realized it could become incredibly profitable. Farmers began growing it on a massive scale, and within a few generations, tobacco had spread across Europe and eventually much of the world. What had once been a sacred plant was slowly becoming an international commodity. Over the centuries, new ways of consuming tobacco appeared. Pipes became more common. Cigars gained popularity among wealthy elites. Then came one invention that changed everything forever: the manufactured cigarette. Cheap to produce, easy to carry, and quick to use, cigarettes transformed smoking from an occasional ritual into an everyday habit. By the 20th century, millions of people around the world smoked daily. Advertisements portrayed smoking as glamorous, sophisticated, and even healthy. Celebrities appeared with cigarettes in magazines and films. In some countries, doctors were even featured in tobacco advertisements before the health risks became fully understood. Eventually, decades of scientific research revealed the truth. Smoking dramatically increases the risk of lung cancer, heart disease, stroke, and many other serious illnesses. Governments introduced warning labels, restricted advertising, and launched public health campaigns that continue today. Yet, despite everything we know, the history of smoking reminds us of something remarkable. The human desire to explore nature, search for meaning, and experiment with the world around us is incredibly ancient. From prehistoric campfires to sacred ceremonies, from tribal rituals to modern cities, the story of smoke has followed humanity for thousands of years. It began with curiosity, it evolved into culture, and eventually it became one of the most influential and controversial habits in human history.